Thank you. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. We gathered to celebrate a great victory, a moment when our country has chosen to take the lead in shaping a new world of expanded trade and expanded opportunity.
It became clear that the best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico.
We understand the concerns and fears of those who oppose this agreement. We respect their disagreement. But let me state our simple conviction that NAFTA will be good for our country, good for working men and women, and good for the future of our hemisphere. The fight for NAFTA was an act of bipartisan leadership, bringing together lawmakers from both parties in both chambers. Those who worked to pass NAFTA are, of course, too numerous to list, but let me particularly acknowledge Speaker Foley and Republican Leader Bob Michel, Republican Whip Newt Gingrich, Representatives Rostenkowski, Hoyer, Fazio, Matsui, Richardson, and Colby, and on the Senate side, Majority Leader Mitchell and Republican Leader Dole, and Senators Baucus, Bradley, Dodd, Chafee, and Danforth. It is no secret that the support of hundreds of prominent citizens played an especially important role, and may I single out the debt our nation owes to President Bush, President Carter, President Reagan, President Ford, and President Nixon for their unprecedented support of the NAFTA treaty. It marked a real turning point.
I believe we have made a decision now that will permit us to create an economic order in the world that will promote more growth, more equality, better preservation of the environment, and a greater possibility of world peace. We are on the verge of a global economic expansion that is sparked by the fact that the United States at this critical moment decided that we would compete, not retreat.
To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element in making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
In the meantime, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Ford hopes to double its production capacity in Mexico by 2018. And this move comes on the heels of General Motors and their $5 billion investment that also doubles their Mexican capacity by the same time period.
Well, of course, it was a bad idea. It was a bad idea because NAFTA was written specifically to drive down wages. I mean, Ross Perot was right. When he warned America that we were going to lose millions of jobs, he was 100% right. He knew what the Democrats at that point weren't ready to say, and that is that NAFTA was going to cause America to lose millions of jobs because wages would, because manufacturers, corporations would seek other countries where wages were lower, where workers didn't have any rights at all, where they could make a bigger profit.
Our biggest project yet. It takes our partnership to the next level. Daimler and Nissan will cooperate on premium compact cars. Together, we will develop a new generation of compact models for both Mercedes-Benz and Infiniti. And we will produce these cars in a common plant in Aguascalientes in central Mexico.
When President Clinton signed this bill, and this was after he negotiated 2 new side agreements for labor and environment, President Clinton said it would be a force for economic growth and social progress. You said in '96 it was proving its worth as free and fair trade. You said that in 2000 it was a good idea that took political courage. So your record is pretty clear. Based on that, and what you're now expressing your discomfort with it, in the debate that Al Gore had with Ross Perot, Al Gore said the following: if you don't like NAFTA and what it's done, we can get out of it in 6 months. The president can say to Canada and Mexico, we are out. This has not been a good agreement. Will you as president say, we are out of NAFTA in 6 months?
I have said that I will renegotiate NAFTA, so obviously you'd have to say to Canada and Mexico that that's exactly what we're going to do. But you know, in fairness...
Let me be clear.
Yes, I am
You will get out, you will notify Mexico and Canada, NAFTA is gone in 6 months.
No, I will say...
This was something that you wrote about as a real success for your husband. You said it was good on balance for New York and America in 2004, and now you're in Ohio, and your words are much different, Senator. The record is very clear.
Well, you don't have all the record, because you can go back and look at what I've said consistently, and I haven't just said things. I have actually voted to toughen trade agreements, to try to put more teeth into our enforcement mechanisms, and I will continue to do so.
I will make sure that we renegotiate in the same way that Senator Clinton talked about, and I think actually Senator Clinton's answer on this one is right. I think we should use the hammer of a potential opt-out as leverage to ensure that we actually get labor and environmental standards that are enforced.
Hi, everybody. This week, after 5 years of effort with 11 other nations, we reached agreement on a new trade deal that promotes American values and protects American workers. There's a reason this Trans-Pacific Partnership took 5 years to negotiate. I wanted to get the best possible deal for American workers, and that is what we've done.
One of the biggest and most secretive trade deals in history has finally been revealed in full, and critics say it's even worse than they thought. On Thursday, the complete text of the controversial Trans-Pacific Partnership was released after years of closely guarded talks. The TPP was agreed to last month between the United States and 11 other Pacific Rim nations. The group represents 40% of the world's economy. It will set common standards in areas including employment, food safety, the internet, corporate governance, and intellectual property. It also establishes new tribunals under which corporations can sue governments for laws that affect their profits. The legal mechanism is called the Investor State Dispute Settlement, or ISDS. Activists around the world have opposed the TPP, warning it will benefit corporations at the expense of public health, the environment, free speech, and labor rights.
With the fine print now disclosed, the TPP's opponents say their worst fears have been confirmed. In a statement, Public Citizen said, quote, "The text shows that the TPP would offshore more American jobs, lower our wages, flood us with unsafe imported food, and expose our laws to attack in foreign tribunals." On Thursday, the White House notified Congress it intends to ratify the TPP, starting a 90-day review period before President Obama can seek final approval. The Senate has granted Obama the authority to fast-track the TPP and present it to Congress for a yes or no vote with no amendments allowed.
But let's be clear. Our future depends not on what past trade deals did wrong, but on doing new trade deals right. And that's what the TPP does.
You guys ever do anything but propaganda?
Isn't it your business also?
Would you even know the truth if you saw it?
Oh yes.
I don't believe you would.
Calling it a defining moment, President Clinton, with great fanfare, signed legislation putting the North American Free Trade Agreement into law. Mr. Clinton praised the bipartisan spirit that helped pass the trade agreement, and he made what he called a pledge to labor groups and other Americans who opposed and feared it.